Hi, my name is Ngozi and I am the director and co-founder of Aurora Wellness, which is a mental well-being and productivity coaching consultancy. And we have a single mission. It's really simple. Our mission is to enable good mental health and well-being in the workplace for everybody. And we do that through our coaching, through our training, our workshops and webinars. But that's not what I always wanted to do, actually. When I was at university, when I was a graduate, I actually had very high ambitions of being Secretary General of the United Nations. That's what I was going to do. I was a child of the Kofi Annan Secretary General era, and I wanted to be the next African Secretary General of the United Nations. And it seemed very feasible and achievable to me. I had a very clear career path. I would work for charities for a period of time and go and work in corporate for a period of time. And then I'd go into politics, and it was very clear that's what I was going to do. A very ambitious young lady. So that's what I did. I ended up volunteering for the National Autistic Society for a number of years and loved that. And then went and did my stint in corporate. I literally just picked any company in the careers library that I thought would suit my particular skills and educational background. And I actually ended up working in oil and gas. I worked for the world's largest, at the time, oil and gas company. And I went as a graduate and I fell in love. I absolutely adored the graduate scheme. I loved the intelligence, the ambition, the commitment, the drive of all the other people I was working with. I loved how much I could learn about cutting edge technology and all the things that helped me to grow up into an adult who really appreciated the work ethic that the corporate world could bring. And so I stayed there for a number of years, and I thought that I would progress and move on, but life got in the way. I ended up getting really sick, and I ended up having some undiagnosed brain disease that left me paralyzed, and it took a long time for me to recover. So by the time I got over that illness, I kind of thought, well, that's it. It's thwarted my ambitions of Secretary General. I'll just see out my days here in corporate with a company that's been so loyal to me for all my time off sick, and I'll just have a normal career, just a normal everyday corporate project manager kind of career. And I'll do the things that normal people do, and I'll get married and have kids and work hard and progress and retire. And so that was my plan. Our plan was to just live a very lovely, ordinary life. But that streak of ambition never left. And so I worked really, really hard. And I did do the things. I got married, and I had kids, and I still fought really hard to be the very best project manager I could be, the very best manager within an oil company I could be, in the hopes that even though I didn't progress to be Secretary General of the United Nations, I could still make a difference to myself, to my family, to my community doing that. And I sacrificed a lot. I did that thing that many women do. I tried to work like I wasn't a parent, and to parent like I didn't have a day job. And that's an impossible ask. It's a really impossible ask of anybody, but I tried anyway. And I can tell you that way madness lies. Because what happened was, even though I'd sacrificed so much time, even though I said yes too many times, even though I would work until stupid o'clock in the morning to make up for having to pick up the kids from nursery, and they were always the last kids to be picked up from nursery, even though I did all of this, it wasn't recognized. It wasn't recognized. And I thought, okay, I just need to work harder, work longer, prove my value more. So I tried. I worked harder. I worked longer. I said yes more. I was even more flexible, even when it was inconvenient to my family. I thought that's the price for success. and it still wasn't recognized. And I realized that what had happened was, you've all heard of the glass ceiling. Well, I hit the brown glass ceiling. There's a brown glass ceiling in most companies, and it's lower even than the glass ceiling. And I hit it, and I hit it hard. And I recognized that that's the problem when I was having a annual review with my then boss. After a year of particularly hard work, where I had been assured by my functional manager that I would definitely get recognized because I was one of the assets to the team, and he didn't understand why I wasn't being rewarded or promoted as much as I should be, but it was definitely going to be rectified this year. When that didn't happen, and I pressed my manager for an explanation, and the best he could come up with was, you're too jokey. That's when I knew it. I just knew that my face didn't fit. My face didn't fit, and there was nothing I could do about it. And it made me feel like a caged bird in a golden cage. I was being paid well, sure. I was being promoted, sure. I just wasn't being paid as well as her, or promoted as quickly as him. And that left me feeling so trapped, because I needed to stay for the paycheck. My family depended on the income that I was bringing in, but I knew I wasn't being appreciated. I knew I was being taken for granted, and I felt like a mug, frankly. And that weighed on me. I used to wake up screaming in the middle of the night, actually, literally screaming, um, thinking that I was at work, and then I'll wake up and realize that I was on my way to work. I used to wake up a little bit disappointed that I hadn't died in the night. And I used to fantasize about ways I could commit suicide and make it look like an accident so that my family could get the insurance money. All of this became normal to me, all became completely normal. And I never, for 1 second, not 1 second, thought I had a mental health issue. I just thought I had a rubbish human issue. I thought that the issue was that I wasn't good enough. I just wasn't good enough. That despite all the potential I had, all my best efforts, I was a rubbish adult. And that was the life I was going to live. And that pained me so deeply and shamed me so much that I couldn't share this with anybody. I didn't tell anybody how I thought or felt. So I didn't get any help. And I tried to just bury it deep, deep, deep within my soul, and not let anybody find out my secret, because if they did, then shock horror, they might agree that I was a rubbish adult, and I couldn't have that. That would be too much pain to bear. And it worked for a few months, years even. It worked. I plastered on the happy face and carried on living my life, um, deeply unhappy, deeply distressed, until I actually had a nervous break. I remember sitting on an aeroplane, um, flying to our head office in Surrey, and sitting in row 4B. And the closer we got to Heathrow Airport, the more the panic started to set in, before eventually I found myself in floods of tears, crying next to the two nicely dressed gentlemen sandwiched either side of me, trying to pretend desperately that I wasn't putting mascara stains on their suit. And eventually, this pain just couldn't stay hidden. And I ended up having what I call my Russell Kane kitchen floor resets, where I had another nervous breakdown. I ended up in floods of tears on the kitchen floor, unable to to speak properly, hardly able to breathe. And my husband frog marched me to the doctor and insisted that I got help. And that was the start of something new. And it was entirely other people who supported me through this because, as far as I was concerned, I didn't have a mental health issue. I was just a rubbish human. So, what was a doctor going to do for me? So, other people had to intervene on my behalf. And they did that. And that is why I'm here today. And it took a long time to recover. It'd been years of being told that I wasn't good enough in subtle ways, in misleading ways, in insidious but powerful messaging that women, particularly women of color, often get. So it took more than a few weeks or months to get over it. It's taken a good year and a half of therapy, of medication, of love to get through this. But when I did, I recognized that I didn't want to go back on that hamster wheel. And what I wanted to do was to use my experiences to support other people going through it. And that's when I partnered up with my cousin, a psychologist and a stress management coach, to build Aurora, a company devoted to supporting people, but particularly women who find themselves dealing with stress, anxiety, burnout, depression, inferiority, imposter syndrome, all these kinds of things that plague us in the 21st century. And I'm so proud of the work that we do, and absolutely over the moon that I get to spend my days helping lift other women up. So I think the moral of the story is, for me, is never give up hope. Never give up hope. I might well one day be Secretary General of the United Nations. Watch this space. But the important thing is that no matter how dark your today is, there is always, if you're open to it, always a sliver of hope that tomorrow will be better. And so long as you are able to admit that you need help and be open to receiving it, you will get it. So thank you. Thank you for listening to my story. And I'll see you again soon.